You want to know what a professional sports bettor is betting in week 10 of college football? That's why we're here. Eddie Walls, what is your best bet for week 10 in college football, my friend?
Yeah, it's Memphis and UTSA over 60.5. I've been kind of waiting for this kind of matchup since UNT. And coming into the season, I thought to myself, how is Memphis going to be any better on defense? Like, I know that they got A.J. Herring from Tennessee. He's a great linebacker. Their run defense will probably be massively better. But they didn't do anything to address the secondary. And then they go out and they play Troy's third-string quarterback. They play FSU's backup quarterback. They play a bunch of teams that can't score whatsoever. And North Texas puts like 700 yards on them or whatever, scores 42 points. And then last week, Charlotte waited till the second half to put their freshman quarterback in with a big arm. He lights them up almost immediately. UTSA has no pass defense, but a really good run defense. They pass the ball like crazy. They're pretty effective doing so. UTSA seems to lose games in the last minute, but they do so against like teams like Tulsa in 45-42 type of games. The totals have been flying over. They're one of the fastest paced teams in the entire country. I think that we're going to have to see the quarterback from Memphis, Hennigan, throw the ball here, and he's pretty effective doing so.
Yeah,
I'm much higher than market. We released this. We got some pushback on it.
That's right.
And it still remained my favorite bet, especially after we got some pushback. I was able to hit it again a little bit.
There you go.
So, yeah, that turned out to be my best bet of the week.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss this a little bit if we can before we move on to the slate this weekend. I could not agree more. I've thought all year long, like you, the defense for Memphis has been over. I think Memphis as a whole has been overvalued all season long, really. I mean, this game was 7.5. It's now sort of 7 consensus across the board. So I don't know how involved I want to get at 7, but the one frustration I do have with this Memphis offense, and I'm curious if you have any thoughts on this specifically. Memphis's offense is probably like, I would put them top 10, but only when they're losing in the final 2 minutes of a game. Why do you think when you're watching them that they seem to play with such, so lackadaisical until they absolutely have to turn it on? Because that's really when the outpour starts for them, when they're losing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. You have an offensive line head coach who's determined to run the ball at all times. And he's not very effective doing so whatsoever, but he just wants to control the clock and control the game. And you see that he's also very panicky. They had an interception last week. They give up a touchdown. They're ahead by a touchdown. Instead of him, going the gas pedal and using his basically best quarterback he's ever going to have in his career.
Yep.
They run it 3 times, go 3 and out, basically. Maybe they got a first down there. They punt it. They give up a touchdown. Then they give the lead away. And then out of nowhere, they score in like 35 seconds.
Yep.
Like, it's just a bad coach. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a guy that is, I think he's playing kind of like, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of coaches like this, like where they lose their identity and they are trying to figure out ways to win games kind of conservatively. We're seeing it with Lane Kiffin. We saw it with Napier when he was at ULL. They have the tools to go out there and throw it like 40 times a game and score 60 points. That's how they won last year, but they lost some games doing that. So I think he's just trying to control the game too much. But I mean, the biggest thing that I don't understand is if you know that you have that kind of secondary and you get involved in games like North Texas, he's still trying to run the ball in the third period, in the third quarter against a team that is just lighting him up on offense. I don't know why he wouldn't just embrace a quarterback that he's got. This is his last year of eligibility, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you go out there and throw Hennigan, I don't know, as many passes as he possibly can throw? I mean, you have Rock Taylor, you have great wide receivers. You're not going to have any of these guys next year.
Yep.
If you do have talent on offense, they're probably going to hit the portal, even though you do have a good NIL deal at Memphis. NIL has very strong NLI money. So I don't know. Bad coaches make bad things happen. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, obviously as most of our viewers do or don't know, I'm in Memphis, and that's just definitely been one of the points of frustration this year is that, he's the only fourth-year starter in America at the same school, and yet it feels like he's on a leash sometimes with the way that the offense is called. But hopefully they just let him cook this weekend, Eddie. Hopefully they could just let him loose this weekend, and we see point score, which I believe that we absolutely will. Okay, before we get to this week's order of business, college basketball starts on Monday, which means that the Right Angle Sports college basketball service starts on Monday. That's available up at respicks.com with a lot of new packages, a lot of different ways to go at it this year. So make sure you look around, see if you find one that fits for you. Also, RAS Plus launched today. What is RAS Plus? It's college football extras. It's college basketball extras, NBA and NFL props. NBA prop last night was a winner. It's $29 a month. It's the best deal out there. All of this is up at respicks.com. All right, Eddie, without further ado, let's get into it this week. Let's start with the big kickoff. Ohio State at Penn State. Ohio State minus 3.5 with a total here of 46. I think we're all kind of awaiting, the health of Drew Aller here for Penn State. Anything for you on this game, Eddie?
I don't have anything. I kind of wanted to play under, but I mean, it's a really low total for a real game. A couple of things that really made me like the under is I don't know what the offensive line injuries are for Ohio State, how healthy that offensive line is. I don't know how Aller's going to look. The biggest thing is that I just looked at the box score for Nebraska last week, and I have no idea what Brian Kelly is doing, but he only threw the ball 13 times against Nebraska last week. And I think that's probably a product of him not being sure of what he has at offensive line and their health. I think that Penn State is very, very good on defense. I still have questions about Penn State's offense, major concerns, really. I mean, the more I look at these box scores, they really run the ball pretty effectively, but they're methodical. They only pass kind of when they have to. You're going to have to pass to beat Ohio State, and that's a pretty good secondary they're facing. I think it's probably a fair number right around here right now without the Aller health. If Aller comes in, gets ruled in, and it goes to 48 and a half, I'd probably be interested in the under.
Okay.
But, I mean, if it's going to be the backup, also I'm going to need clearance on the offensive line injury because I think they have a left tackle out. That's pretty damn key.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens on Saturday. But for right now, I'm on the sidelines.
Yep, nothing for me in this one. As you know, this is the part of the year where it's like my college football volume is getting, on the thinner side. There's no question about it. Pittsburgh at SMU, minus 7, 57.5. I believe is it Pittsburgh minus? Oh, no, it's SMU minus
SMU
7.
minus 7.
Yeah, SMU minus 7 with a total here of 57.5. Again, quarterback uncertainty on both sides in this one as well, Eddie.
And this one wrecked me. I've been waiting all year long to fade Pitt and also to play some overs against them. And I thought this would be the perfect opponent. And then we get wind, rain. Both quarterbacks are banged up. We don't know if Jennings is going to be fully healthy. And then SMU's number 2 wide receiver is probably out. Their All-American tight end is out. I mean, I can only play under, and my numbers wouldn't allow me to do so. Kind of want to back SMU because I think Pitt is a total fraud who hasn't played anybody, but it's a great story. And I mean, I don't know. I look at their resume now, and it doesn't look nearly as good. I mean, they beat Cincinnati in a very big comeback fashion, beat West Virginia in a very big comeback fashion. The rest they've played are kind of fades. So, yeah, I was looking to play SMU, but injuries stacked up.
Right.
Was looking to play over. Weather went against me. Injuries went against me. So, yeah, nothing for me here.
Real quick, I want to throw a couple of comments at you here.
Sure.
We do have some feedback in the chat. DT plus the points asked for your thoughts on Navy versus Rice. Number seems short for most teams. Situation not great. Navy's different, even with that defense.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. There's a couple things going on with Rice. Bloomgren got fired, so you're going to get a different probably momentum from Rice. You can always play off of those coaches being fired the week after. Yep. And also, Navy's quarterback has a banged-up thumb, and he fumbled 6 times against Notre Dame. I imagine they're going to be pretty cautious with him, allowing him to take hits. That's probably why you're seeing the total get obliterated. So there's some injuries on Rice. Obviously, we don't know what quarterback's going to play for them.
Right.
If you like Navy, I can't really argue with you. I mean, they've been perfect against the spread until last week. Obviously, we didn't know that the quarterback had a thumb that was basically broken, from what I understand. So, yeah, I don't have anything there. The number got absolutely hammered to the under, which is surprising because Navy is averaging about 42 points per game. I don't know. I guess it could be Navy and over at this point for me, but it's just more of a pass than anything.
Yep, fair enough. All right, on to the SEC we go. Florida at Georgia. Georgia minus 14.5 with a total here, Eddie, of 52.5. I believe this is the world's largest cocktail party. That is what they call this one.
Yeah, I also believe that this is the last time they're going to play in the stadium for a couple of years. They're moving the location. So just read that this morning. That's cool. All right. So, yeah, I played under in this Georgia game, mostly due to Florida's injuries. So, I mean, they're without their number one running back, their number one wide receiver, number one tight end. They have injuries across the board. I could only play Georgia as a side. And Georgia's absolutely filthy on defense. We've seen that time and time again. The only team that scored on them is Alabama. And they only did it in the first half before Smart adjusted everything.
Yep.
I mean, I actually think that 14.5 is a little bit low. But, I mean, I'm only 49 on the side, and that's giving a lot of credit for Florida being able to score. I don't know if they can. I also know that Georgia's playing awfully methodical lately. They don't run the ball very effective for like the third year in a row. So you do have a lot of passing going on, which scares me a little bit. But, yeah, I felt pretty good about the under. I ended up playing it this morning.
Yeah. They are asking in the chat what number.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got 52.5. It's still there. I didn't move it.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So that's good to hear. So it's still there. And, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is just one of those spots just generally we've seen over the years with Georgia. When they played these kinds of teams. I think about last year when they got this sort of upstart Kentucky team. They just smashed them. They just smashed them to smithereens. It just feels like Kirby just relishes in these spots, man.
There is concern on my end for sure that they ended up running it up. But, I mean, they have to make a number and bet a number at some point.
No, for sure. No, I tend to like. I mean, honestly, it could be 52-0. Like,
right. I mean, I don't know. It's just like I doubt that that's going to be the case. But I mean, I do think that Florida's defense is a little bit better than I probably came into the season with. I mean, then again, I'm looking at this Florida team and like where their points came from, and like. I think they're getting a lot of credit for like moving the ball on UCF, which we now know doesn't have a defense. And then we also know that Kentucky is just falling apart and they were able to really just run through them.
Yep.
And Legway is still a freshman. This is definitely the best defense he's going to play all year long. I mean, this is definitely the best defense he's ever faced in his entire life. And he's still more of a runner, which doesn't really excite me. So I'm just surprised how good Florida is compared to what the preseason notion was of who they are.
Yeah, it honestly, how it started. I mean, that first game against Miami was.
I mean, I thought, I don't know, man. I mean, I just remember the Colorado and Florida were everybody's fades of the year. Like, I just can't wait to bet against Colorado and Florida. And imagine those people like
we may have to start getting a weekly Colorado game in here, Eddie. I mean,
no more Colorado. My God. They put the worst beat in the world on me against Kansas State. I swear, man. I mean, like, I think about that all the time. Like, if Travis Hunter doesn't leave the game at halftime, that game flies under. But, and then we had just like the weirdest things ever with Chris Kyleman not kicking the field goal. Anyways, I only think about like a couple of bad beats a year, and that one stuck out.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Got it. Marked and remembered. All right. Big Ten. Oregon at Michigan. Oregon minus 14.5 with a total of 45.5. Oregon, of course, number one in the country here.
Yeah, I don't have anything here. I'm very scared to play anything involving Michigan. It just feels like quarterback. I mean, what are they on, like 4 different quarterbacks this year? Will John, their All-American cornerback has been out for like half the season, Will Johnson. I can't really get behind this team. At the same time, 14.5 has got to be one of the bigger numbers I can remember at Michigan in the Big House in a long, long time.
Yeah.
But this Oregon just seems like world beaters. I didn't even realize they weren't even like using their All-American defensive end the last few weeks because he's been hurt. So, I mean, like, this team is just really, really good. And, I mean, they started off kind of sluggish, but, I mean, I guess they were just leaving it in the gas tank because, I mean, they just demolished Illinois last week. And they could have won by more against Ohio State when you look at box score. I don't know. They're very well coached. The thing that's very surprising about me is they got a damn good coach because he took that team from being all offensive to being very, very much Big Ten defensive ready. And I thought that was super, super cool.
Yeah.
He seems like a straight up guy. Like he just seems like he's that dude.
I think so, man. I think so. And, you look at that number and you're like, oh, man, no way. But
Yeah.
like Dan Lanning is built different.
For sure.
mean, that dude always has his teams prepared. And I'm not saying that 14.5 is going to win, but that's exactly the kind of coach I want to lay 14.5 on the road with.
Right. Yeah. He's not, I mean, he'll back off of the Purdue's of the world, but I don't, you know, if he's up 13 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he's still trying to score.
Yeah.
I mean,
we said this about Signetti. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Same kind of guy.
Split and cover, right? It's all he does. Real quick before we get to the final game here, Colin. I don't know if Colin is asking for a little favor or what, but he wants us to chat.
I got you, Colin. I don't know who you are, but let's do it. All right. I don't have anything on it next,
man.
Charlotte is one of my favorite teams. Like, maybe ever. They've got all the makings of an Eddie Walls special, man. They got a bad coach that doesn't know exactly who the quarterback is from week to week, even though one is like way superior than the other. They got guys fighting each other on the sidelines. They got 5 personal fouls a game, and they still end up like covering.
That's right.
I mean, they're just an awful travesty to watch if you're backing them for real money, you know. Like last week, they're in the game against Memphis, tied. They just give up 2 touchdowns right away before they make like the quarterback switch to the freshman who just airs it out for like 200 yards and 3 plays.
That's right.
Like last year, Poggi, he had a running back that he wasn't even using who ended up like being like absolutely incredible. He didn't like discover him until like 3 weeks left in the season. So like, that's just like the story of Charlotte football. They'll probably end up covering tonight because that's just what Charlotte is. Like, you know, they'll be down 20 at like, you know, the mid third quarter and lose by 7, you know, but they'll have like 5 personal fouls on the last drive. Like they're they're a hard back, man.
Yeah, they are. That program is but I like Purdy.
Dude, I mean, I'm going to like him for the next 3 weeks because, you know, he's hitting the portal and getting paid. I don't know. Poggi has a lot of money. I mean,
maybe so. Maybe he'll
maybe keep him for another year.
Yeah, his disposable income he'll use on NIL. Everybody's doing it, right?
I can't fade Tulane though. They're just too good, man. Yeah, they're just too good. Like,
somebody's fading them. Somebody's fading them this week because it's open. What, 16.5?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, Summerall's a genius, dude. Yeah, I don't know. Really, I mean, I feel like if Charlotte scores like early in this game, he'll just shut it down and run on them, and you know he'll make Purdy throw some pretty bad passes. Yeah. I like that kid though, man. He's just throwing it like 60 yards. He doesn't know where it's going. It's fun football. I love it.
Nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
For Charlotte, they're just throwing it up and hoping somebody catches it.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, Louisville at Clemson in the ACC. Clemson minus 10.5 with a total of 61.5 here. This was a right angle release at 61. Could you advocate for 61.5, Eddie?
Absolutely. I know. All right. First of all, we have Braum, who's just a serial killer when it comes to these kind of games. I mean, like this dude is going to let it all fly out. And we already saw the kind of game that he wants to get involved in when he played Miami. He's going to be airing it out. He's going to have Tyler Show throwing it 35, 40 times. There's not going to be a lot of ground attack. Clemson has not faced a team with a winning record since Georgia. We know that Clemson's offense is super legit. I'm not going to ever take that away from them. They have fixed that for sure. Yeah. I mean, like you can say like, oh, they haven't played anybody, but they've absolutely dominated everybody that they've played. And Clemson does not have Louisville does not have a secondary. Louisville does have a lot of weapons on offense. And let's face it, when like Louisville gets behind, they start playing fast, like we saw last week with Boston College. They can score quick too. They have a couple of NFL wide receivers the last time I checked. And I don't know. This is a real game. I actually thought that I thought about playing Louisville, but numbers are just astronomical for Clemson because if you're going by like who they've played and what they beat them by margin, it just doesn't feel that safe. But I felt really, really good about the over. I just thought that 61 was like, I don't know. If we're going 61, then we're just giving credit for Clemson having a really, really good defense, which I'm not sure if they do.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, they were getting thrown on a lot against UVA. I don't know. I mean, we're going to find out if Clemson's for real this week, and the schedule gets a little bit harder for them. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe Clemson gets ahead early and can shut it down. But I just think that Braum is way too good of a coach for them to let that happen. Yep. And I mean, also another thing of note is Clemson plays super fast in the first half, and then they shut it down the second half because they're always behind.
Right.
They might be playing super fast this entire game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a 7-point game the entire game. I mean, we could see some fireworks for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah, the closest we've seen to this is that Miami Louisville game, and that was 90 something. I mean, yeah, I tend to think this is
another thing that's just so weird to me too is if you think about it from just point spread differential. Louisville Boston College was 55 last week. Boston College is a straight up under. You mean to tell me that Clemson is only 6 points better to the over than Boston College? Like,
right.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, here's my best bet for the week, and it's pretty disgusting. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's Tulsa +3 at UAB, and this is very simple. I could sum it up very, very succinctly. Without Zeno on that backup quarterback, and with Trent Dilfer in that team, I don't think UAB should be a 3-point favorite over pretty much anybody. This Tulsa team last week had a miracle win against UTSA, and maybe the vibes are good enough to try to keep this going and build on something at the end of the year here. But I just cannot get to UAB -3 against anybody with how poorly they've played, how badly coached they are, and just where Dilfer, quite frankly, ranks in Division I as a head coach himself. So I will take the 3 here. There are going to be 80 people at this game.
I mean, you're not thinking that any of the players' friends or family show up?
No.
What are you talking about, man? There's 113
everybody's quit.
on one team.
Everybody's quit, Eddie.
Oh, man. They've all gone home for the year, huh?
Yeah, that's going to be a tragic sight in Birmingham. I'm telling you.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm not sure where the 3 is coming from here, Eddie, but we're going to take it. We're going to take the real quick, do you have any thoughts on just that UAB situation?
I mean, I have lots of thoughts on all of the teams at this time of year, but the weirdest thing about UAB is that when Zeno got hurt, I kind of felt like they would be like, kind of spunky on defense, and then they just automatically quit. Like everything about them just quit for like 2 weeks straight. And then they showed some signs of life against USF.
Yeah.
They played defense for a half and then got involved in the shootout with a backup quarterback for USF who hadn't had any success. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like his vibes, Dilfer's at all. Yep. I thought it was a horrific hire right from the get.
Yep.
But he came in, wanting to change the culture. I mean, the culture was pretty damn good under Clark.
It was.
Who was probably a top 10 coach in the entire nation.
Even the interim they had there too.
Yeah. And now he's at ULM just tearing it up.
And he beat the hell out of UAB earlier this year. He handed it right back to him.
Yeah, man. I don't know, dude. I think that the vibes are bad at UAB. I also think that like Tulsa just won a game where they came from behind 4 touchdowns down, and now they have a possibility to go to a bowl.
Yep.
I don't understand how UAB is favored. That being said, my numbers were like 2.5, and I was just like, that can't be right. I was hoping a 3 would pop, but then you came on here talking, so
it's gone now.
Yeah, we're screwed now.
No, you actually might get a 3.5. So.
Yeah, that's true. You do have that about you. I mean,
you're very welcome, man. I move Thursday numbers, man. I don't know how I do it. It's a phenomenon. But listen, always fun, my friend. Best of luck this week again. RES Plus launched. RESPicks.com. College basketball service starts on Monday. That's where you can find all the information. Get involved. Eddie, best of luck this week, man. Appreciate the time as always.
You too. Thank you so much. Good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Oh, happy Halloween.
Oh, happy Halloween to you too.
Holiday.
All right.
See you, man.
See you.